They're gonna make fun of me. I don't care.
They're gonna make fun of me because
strong
I couldn't change out perks.
I'm a strong, beautiful fish who don't need
Is Perks your Jalen Hurts pie? Is he dead to you?
Perks has been dead to me.
Perks didn't play week 1. Look, don't be mad.
That's why he's dead to me.
He's
He
gonna
was on
do
my
really
fantasy
well.
team. I hate him, but I picked him up for fantasy.
You should have paid attention. You should have paid attention
To the announcement when he was already locked in.
You should have picked up a sub.
I picked up a sub. It didn't let me
drafted.
swap out. Once Europe started,
I swapped out Sven. And
once
Trick.
Europe started, it wouldn't let me swap.
We should keep this in for the
Feels
show,
bad, man.
the
Maybe we can
Of course,
edit this.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Like,
because do you know
at
who
the end,
my
that's a
secondary
bonus.
was? Do you know who my second mid laner was? It was Golden Glue, so it didn't even matter. So I probably saved myself. He probably would have got me negative points. I don't want negative points.
Oh, no.
But it's okay, because
You
guess
actually
what? I
did
got the
bad with
notorious
the sushi.
POB, so whatever. I don't care.
Hello,
Oh, that's
everyone,
so
and
funny.
welcome to episode 39 of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. Tonight, after talking about some other esports action, we'll be discussing C9's very strange strategic choice of losing out their first week of the NALCS Summer Split. I'm your host, HavocPuss, and today I'm joined by...
Frozen Creek. I didn't actually get to watch any of the games except the one that we won, so maybe I'm a good luck charm.
Trey, the games made me sad.
It's G2 Perks #1 hater, PieMagicMan.
That needs to be your whole handle. That needs to be your whole name.
You know
now.
what? You know what?
AKA Tony Montana.
You know what? It's all about fantasy. I don't care about anything else. It's all about the fantasy points.
Gotta get those points. Gotta get them in. Alright, before we get too off the rails, I'm gonna go through... We got a lot of other esports action to kind of go through, so I'm gonna go through it. Then at the end, you guys can give me any comments. So first off, Vainglory participated in the Viz League tournament with Vanes as our sub. Gabe Vizzle was absent because he was on his vacation with his wife, so couldn't really make it. They lost in the semifinals. Not too surprising since their leader was basically gone and they had to have a sub. So unfortunate, but not too surprising, I guess. Overwatch participated in the Overwatch Takeover 2. After advancing out of the group stages, they faced against Rogue and then went to the losers bracket. And after facing against E United in the losers finals, they ultimately finished third. They looked like super jet lagged and super exhausted, so the fact that they got third is actually kind of great, at least in my book. I'm trying to take these silver linings whenever I can, guys. For Smash, Mango and Ally were at the Smash and Splash 3 tournament. Ally got first in doubles with Larry Lurr, beating Zero and Tweak, but in second, Ally fell to Zero in the grand finals, so he got second for singles. Mango unfortunately finished 5th, lost to Hungrybox in winter semis, then Levin in losers quarters. In CSGO, there was a Slingshot esports article saying Stewie2K, young Stu, has taken the reins of IGL. That's in-game leader for you scrubs out there. Automatic was the previous in-game leader, but since the team is fumbling pretty much non-stop in their matches, trying to shake it up once again and see what works. So maybe Stewie can do better. Who knows? We'll have to see. Yeah, that's all the esports news.
I was just gonna say, Thorn came out with an episode today saying that he thinks FNS from CLG would be a potential solution to our horrific last couple months. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I don't think they want to switch members right now, so even if he would be a solution, I think that they're trying alternate methods. another thing to mention was they were at the ESL Pro League 5 finals this week. They went 1-4 in the group stage, only beating G2 16-4. So there's definitely some discord going around in the team. We really need to learn. From what I saw, our matches very much, we looked uncoordinated and people would get picked off too early, leading to more problems, bad economy, and just generally lost rounds where we had advantages.
It's hurt so much watching how many times they lost a full buy to like an eco or pistol. That hurt. But one thing about the Stewie becoming in-game leader, if I recall correctly, Stewie was the in-game leader during ESL Season 4, where they beat SK 2-1 in Brazil for the finals. So he dropped down because it was kind of hurting his fragging. Automatic was able to take over, but Stewie does have a little bit of IGL experience, so I don't think it'll be too bad of a transition. The other thing is, I think I've heard that Shroud has said he plans to retire in 2018, so just as far as it looks now, it's always kind of awkward playing with the guy who says he's just about done with what you're doing.
He, I think he said in a later stream that he was just memeing for Reddit drama. Though that could all just be because he doesn't want to jack us, like, don't say stupid shit to freak out the fans, and make it look like we have, like, worse problems than we do or whatever. So we'll have to see. Yeah.
Yeah, so while Cloud9 wasn't in the knockout stages or whatever, we do have a resident there who actually appeared and performed better than Cloud9 over this past weekend, though Cloud9 wasn't there. How was your trip there, Trey?
Hey, so it was really fun. The venue was nice. It was kind of small, and the screens were a little small, but it was an overall good venue. The one thing I will say is the crowd, you couldn't hear it, but apparently on stream there was crowd ghosting, which I'm not okay with, and it's very disrespectful. The crowd, especially in the finals, was very one-sided to the point where we were singing on the last round, na 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 na, na 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 na, hey hey hey, goodbye. And it was funny, but if the crowd ghosting was a huge issue, especially for North, that's something that needs to be fixed, and that brings up the whole booth conversation for sure.
Sounds like a pretty fun experience though.
Oh, the atmosphere there was great. They had a bunch of signings. I didn't really care. I wasn't going to wait in line for the signings. But the venue was definitely nice. They had boba trucks outside, which is also good. Overall, it was a great experience. It just kind of sucked that most of the teams there were European, and the one team that I did see play that was North American was Liquid, and they got crushed.
Oh yeah, I heard they
sounds about
choked.
right.
They choked really hard.
Oof, poor Liquid. Pie, do you want to talk about Smash? You're a big Smash
God, I would
enthusiast.
love to talk about Smash. So, mostly, I'm gonna go on Melee because I did watch Smash 4. Really happy about Ally taking doubles, but unfortunately...
Can I say one quick thing about Smash 4?
For it. You do you.
So, Ally was looking like he had just miracles all the way through and got into winners going into grand finals and then lost 3-1 to 0 in the first bracket, gets reset, and then loses 3-2 on the last game. And it's just, he played well, it just, he wasn't all there. and it's really unfortunate. That's all I really have to say.
The last few times they've met, hasn't Zero like broken out like the Lucina or something else, or has he always just gone straight Diddy versus Ally?
Zero, I think, recently has been switching it up against Ally because they have a pretty even matchup.
Yeah, so I think in this final he went straight Diddy, which is not as characteristic as the last few. But anyway, as far as Mango goes, that was heartbreaking watching him play against Leffen, and he's looking so good, but in classic Mango fashion, he has to do the homie stock, and Leffen just took over from there. And Leffen was, after that homie stock, I didn't know if that was gonna mess with Leffen's mentality, like, oh, I'm winning because Mango gave up a stock, and that's not what I want to do. But no, Leffen took it and ran with it, and had a good run.
I have to bring it in here because a lot of fans were getting mad and saying, why in a big tournament would you take a homie stock like that? And a lot of people were saying, like, the nation is upset about this. And what a lot of people don't get is that this is the reason the nation's here. Because of the way that Mango acts. Because of his sportsmanship. Because of things like this. So it's really disheartening to see fans say, oh, well, if Mango would have just not given up that homie stock, he would have beat Leffen and probably could have would have faced Armada, who Leffen beat. I just don't think that it mattered. The homie stock wasn't necessarily the problem. It may have shifted momentum, but I think Mango not playing Falco majority of Sunday was also one of his biggest problems.
I don't think anyone should disagree that the homie stock probably lost in that set, but also I agree with your point. The homie stock is classic Mango. Like, who else would give a homie stock at that point? I think literally the only person he would not do that to is HBox. Like, maybe Armada, but like, that's such a Mango thing to do, and that's why, even if you hate that he lost, that's got to be part of why you're a fan, is he'll do something stupid like that because he's a homie, he's a nice guy, and you know, he doesn't want to win because he's winning. He wants to win because he's better than that person.
All right. Well, unfortunate that Mango. Oh, Frozen, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna transition. I meant to transition from CS:GO and ESL, but PieMagicMan was actually on hand for the Cloud9 beatdown over the weekend. So, which games were you at?
So I, since now we are getting into League of Legends, if anyone wasn't aware, I was there for the C9 versus CLG game. I had a bear shirt on if anyone else was there. And I don't know, it's a really interesting experience. The whole area is pretty nice. Because it was a Friday game, it was only like half full. I was also kind of surprised because there was a lot more CLG fans in the crowd than there were Cloud9 fans, or at least the CLG fans were more vocal because there was definitely a lot of Cloud9 jerseys out there. But you know, it's a fun experience. You know, watch. Sometimes you can hear it at home, but basically anytime anything happens, the crowd reacts. So it hurts to remember this, but like the Aframu engages on Rakan, the entire crowd just erupted. I don't think like CLG C9, it didn't matter. It was sick plays, and you're watching it live, and the whole crowd just erupts. And it was a fun scene. If you notice, kind of later in the set, they didn't go onto the crowd too much because it wasn't as energetic with, you know, half the stadium empty, but it was still really fun to go to.
How much were tickets?
It's $15 for the day.
Oh, that's awesome. Is it like reserve seating, or is it just for, first come, first serve?
First serve.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Did you get photos?
I only got 2 photos because unfortunately my phone died. I had to wake up like 12 hours before I got there, so phone didn't really want to last that long.
naturally.
Unlucky.
All right.
Well,
While we're on the topic, let's just, I guess, move on if there's no objections.
yes. Let's dive into the nitty gritty. Let's get this over with like a band-aid. Just gotta rip it and grip it. So Cloud9 played some League of Legends over the weekend. They went 1-2 against CLG and 0-2 versus TSM. Impact was absent for both games, which apparently, looking at an interview Ray gave, Impact hasn't taken a vacation in like the 5 years since he started playing in Korea. So kind of an overdue vacation. And he got into NA like Monday. So he didn't have a lot of time to really scrim with the team. Cloud9's been doing scrims with him. And it was just really weird to kind of watch because our play seemed to really go down a notch from finals. We looked a lot less coordinated and a lot just there. If you guys want to jump in.
I'm gonna go on a quick rant real quick.
Okay.
So Impact being gone until Monday means that not only did he not practice much with the team, he wasn't able to really coordinate with Ray, which means Ray's play also dropped. The thing is, these two losses don't represent C9's ability. This represents the lack of adaptation on a new patch, and a lack of learning from both top laners learning together for this new patch. I suspect that by next weekend, everything's going to be good. But for every fan out there that believes that Impact not playing was the reason we lost this game was completely wrong. Impact was jet lagged the entire week, and I guarantee you it would have not made a significant difference if Impact played.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I was gonna say, this is just week one. While I think we should be a little critical of Cloud9's play, this is the first week of a 9-week split on a completely new patch where pretty much every region is trying to figure out the meta. So, does losing, your matches in the first week suck? Yeah. Is it gonna hurt us? Probably not. I think since we made mistakes early on in the season, it is way easier to fix those mistakes than having to fuck up week 9 and find out hey, we have a really big problem we need to fix. Oh, playoffs is in 2 weeks. So I think making these mistakes and the mistakes that they made early, I think it's not as big of a deal as someone other people have been saying.
Oh yeah, I agree there. I think a lot of credit has to be given to CLG's drafting in this one. The first game, you kind of look at it and it seemed which one had the better team fight. The first game we had that Galio Olaf combo and so yeah, we had Galio Olaf Ori just to run in and wreak havoc. And then game 2 they picked the Zyra Khan, which coming into this, a lot of people speculated that it would probably be good, but just to instantly go for that Zyra Khan, pick the Ori into it, their team fight engage was just so strong that it was a bit insane to deal with. And then game 3, I have to say, I really hate AD Kennen being picked. It has really good 1v1 split push potential, as we saw Ray almost 1v2'd Darshan and Huhi, but we didn't play around it at all. If it gets behind, it's so far behind. It's just you have to play a different kind of game around it, and it doesn't seem like we know how to play the game around in AD Kennen, and a lot of teams just don't seem like they see AD Kennen, it's strong, whatever, we have to pick it, but it feels like a lot of teams don't know how to play around its strengths.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I actually kind of went on a little Twitter rant about AD Kennen and how it's kind of a garbage pick when you look at what it can do versus like AP Cannon or another pick. So check out our Twitter at Bodied.
C9 bodied.
At C9 Bodied. Thank you. If you wanna see that. Frozen, you had something you wanted to say.
Okay, so I don't think that Ray did all that well over the weekend. I think visually he did okay. I like watching it, but I'm looking at some stats now, and Darshan is second in goal difference at 10, first in XP difference at 10, and first in CS difference at 10. And a lot of that is because he bullied a race seemingly for 3 games, who is bottom 3 in all those categories, I believe. So he pretty much just got destroyed by Darshan, who I wouldn't really rate as one of the better top laners in the league now, considering we have Someday, Looper, and Flame, and Haunter. So he got bullied by a top laner who might not be quite as good as him. And you guys were kind of saying that it's not that big of a deal because it's the first 2 weeks. But if we would have talked about this last week and asked how many losses a team can afford throughout all 10 weeks, I think we would have agreed that losing more than 3 or 4 games would not win first place, and we've already lost 2. So I think maybe it's not going to be telling of where our trajectory is, but I think that coming into the split, our goal 100% was to win, and we've already dropped 2 games, and that puts us in a horrific place going on in the next 9 weeks.
I think you're overworried. If you look at the top 4 teams from last split, that not in regular season but from playoffs, they're combined 1-7 right now. There's a clear difference of like what's going on in the league that needs to be addressed by these teams. I think a lot of teams were underprepared. So while I agree with your point, I believe that currently the teams that are 2-0 right now, as the patch develops and as we go on, I don't think that it'll stay that way. Echo Fox is currently 2-0, and they looked good. They're the only team at 4-0, but I'm sorry, I still think they're going to have a big problem later on in the split. They played Liquid with Slushy, or Sushi. I don't remember how to pronounce it.
I think it's Slushy.
It is, yeah. So, and then they played FlyQuest, who also had just got a new ADC recently. So, those both have something to work on, but Echo Fox is currently the only team at 2-0, so they're the only team that didn't drop a game.
Up. CLG is 2-0. They dropped 1 game, though.
But, yeah, they did drop a game. That's what I'm saying. Dig and CLG and Immortals all dropped 1 game. But CLG will probably develop problems the second they start losing because of Dardoch's emotional issues. I think Dig has a pretty solid lineup, but we don't know how long it'll take before, if there's coordination issues because of language barriers or anything like that. Immortals is a team that I think will be definitely top 4 this split. So I don't really have anything to criticize about them. TSM, they lost 2-0 to Immortals and just looked awful that game. So I think people don't know what's good on this patch, so this week was like a testing week.
Yeah, but
So,
our macro wasn't there either. We didn't play around our win conditions, and it's not like we didn't have time to prepare. We weren't off in Brazil for 3 weeks.
No,
or a month,
we let our players go on vacation.
which is appropriate, but
We were
prepared's
underprepared.
not really a good excuse for going 0-2, I think. especially when that's 50% of our losses that we can afford to lose to win first place.
I think it'll be much different this split than it was last split. Because if you remember, last split, first place had 3 losses, right? Which, the top 3 places, all were very close last split. But then, number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. Then, the next 5 places all were 2 games apart from each other. Or 3 games apart from each other, excuse me. So, I think we've gotten to a point in the league where everybody is more equal, so we're going to see a more linear game distribution. Instead of these 1 or 2 teams are really good, it's going to be, wow, it's going to be close until the end of the season. We may have some tiebreakers. You don't know what's going to happen, and I think because of the way this patch affected teams, I think it's a little different to say that if you lose more than 3 games, you probably won't get first place.
I want to kind of shift gears over to the TSM match. Specifically, I kind of want to talk about our Xayah Rakan picks, because against CLG, we saw the Xayah Rakan played insanely effectively. Afroma was making these brilliant engages from like a screen away where no one could really see him. You know, he just kind of pops up out of nowhere, and then, you know, he gets these great knockups. Looking at our picks, it seemed like it wasn't well rehearsed, I think. Smoothie was trying to go for some knockups, but in game 1 we played it into Cait Lulu, which is incredibly hard to fight against because Caitlyn's range, Smoothie would just go in for a knockup, and of course with the range, you know, she just steps back a couple of steps, and then he's just kind of sitting there in the middle of a lane like an idiot. Game 2, we looked a little better on. We had a better matchup, but we still weren't really finding a lot of coordination with the, you know, the Rakan jump, and then going in with, you know, comboing it with other picks that we made. So what do you guys think about the, I guess, the drafting from the TSM games?
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I don't think we really know the early lane pressure of Xayah and Rakan yet, because ELG was able to bully us around with it, and then we got solo killed, or lane killed, I guess, by Double Lift and Biofrost. When we picked them, we saw I don't know who it was. One of the European teams at level 1 flashed in, ignited, and almost killed an ADC immediately with that combo, and we kind of just didn't play it, I think, optimally.
Yeah, it did seem like there was a definite lack of practice, and I want to bring up that even though my argument was for that they did have a lack of practice and Impact wasn't practicing with the team, I am not excusing C9's play. I think we do need to look at C9's play critically. They definitely, I think pick ban was a problem for sure. I think this was not the type of pick ban for this patch. Definitely in the TSM series, there was a lot of questionability there. I don't think that you take J4 top that first game with the team comp you have.
Obviously, they should have picked AD Lulu top to combat Cannon, I think.
Well, I think it's more so that instead of picking J4, that first game, you're going to just get stalled out because J4 is going to do a lot of damage, but he's not really that much of a tank. Same thing with Lee, where he kind of falls off. So you're left at a point where you're slowly going to just get outscaled, and then you can't, since you don't have a tank, this Cait is just going to be able to auto you until eventually you get so far into the game where she's just going to start one-shotting your carries because she doesn't have to build any armor shred.
I mean, I think in this case, it kind of the combination of J4 and Lee kind of works out just because they have such gap closers and we had 2 hyper carries. But I'm not sure I like the J4 pick either. I think it should.
I'm saying it as the lack of a full-size tank against a Caitlyn with a Lulu creates a very bad position for the late game.
Yeah, I think so too. But,
Hold on,
yeah, sorry.
let Pie
it's been
talk.
Trey and I
Pie's
just
been
yelling
he's
at
been kind
at
of quiet
each other.
and he's been kind of pinging us.
I was
Go ahead,
gonna
Pie.
say, with the J4, I think they're trying to. One, it's a comfort fit for Ray, but it also kind of works with the cast, because if you can lock a bunch of people down just to get, like, covered in cast poison, that's something you kind of want. As well as the Xayah, like, Xayah Rakan. Like, if you lock them all in there, Rakan's guaranteed to get some knock-ups. Xayah's going to get a bunch of stuff up, get the roots with the feathers, so I can kind of see why. I just think it's a lot harder to actually execute than it is in theory. My biggest problem, though, with C9's drafts these games is, like, it felt like they were picking stuff that was kind of strong that people were kind of comfortable on, but they weren't really like picking towards the meta or trying to stop the other team from picking what they wanted. It feels like the draft is more centered around, we have this idea of a comp and we're going to get it to work, rather than what are they picking, how can we adapt to it. And that was my biggest problem with our drafts this weekend.
I think picking Orianna in that second round slot would have been a better choice, because Orianna's a fine blind pick, and then you can pick a J4 the second time around. But I think Cass and J4 is not as good of a chemistry as opposed to J4 and Orianna. So I think that was a mess up in processing. But it isn't this next week on 6/11?
7-11?
That's what I meant.
I don't think so. Korea is on 7.10.
Korea's always a
I
week
can
behind.
check that.
I don't remember if it's
Korea always comes over a week
either
late.
1 week or 2 weeks on the latest patch when they switch over.
I believe the patch came out, was it this Tuesday or last Tuesday?
Last week.
So I believe it will be on this newest patch. Let me check the rulebook and make sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't the latest patch get released on like Thursday though? They
Yeah,
did
it was
kind of
kind
late.
of late. But normally I think it's the week after, because Andres mentioned that Caitlyn got nerfed a little bit.
Yeah, she can't stack headshots with Hurricane anymore, because and that's mainly why Caitlyn has been such a great pick, because you can just kind of use the trap line. She stacks headshots really quickly, so you can just get like this crazy amount of damage with like not a lot of items, and she scales incredibly well into the late game. But with these nerfs, I think she won't be prioritized as much, because now people are going for more like a single target build, with going like IE first and then like static shiv or like IEPD or rapid fire cannon, and then maybe going into hurricane or some other just like zeal item. So it's kind of thrown her off, and she may have like moved down a rung in terms of the tier list.
So around the whole patch question, according to 8.4.1 of the NA LCS 2017 summer rule set, as a guideline, the competitive patch will be updated a full calendar week after it's released onto the live server. A patch will not be implemented if a week of games or a playoff round has started, i.e., if the patch was released on 11/59 February 1st, 2017, it will be eligible in all LCS competitive matches on or after 11/59 February 8th, 2017, unless a week of games or a playoff round has started. So it should be on 7/11.
Okay, so then we're getting Kate nerfs. We're getting Ari nerfs finally.
Malzahar is going to be very, very, very strong.
Changed Kindred again. Updated Rek'Sai. I wonder if we're going to be getting any of these interesting jungle picks to go alongside the old-fashioned Illusion mid.
Some people have actually been suggesting that Kindred's now moved to an ADC, considering the marks don't really matter as much anymore, and they're increasing her attack range and increasing her ability damage. So I haven't experimented with any. I haven't seen other people really experimenting, but I'd actually really like to see lane Kindred come back, because I played her a bit and I loved it when she was lane viable.
Also, good to mention that Rek'Sai may see some competitive play again. The thing is, Rek'Sai seemed... I've played with and against Rek'Sai, and I don't really know how to grasp it. Rek'Sai seems to do more damage now, but also builds damage, so maybe it'll be used in a different way. I don't know, because of the changes to her is very unique. I don't think we'll see it in competitive play, but you never know.
By removing multiple knockups, you kind of remove Rek'Sai from competitive play. Currently, she's sitting at 43.6% win rate, like the worst jungler right now. I don't think the damage that she's getting in building will compensate that. I think really just being able to knock up one person was such a huge nerf to her kit.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's also good to note that Sion got some changes, though I don't think he'll be played. Ari got a couple of nerfs, but it's really going to just depend. I think the biggest patch difference by far is the Caitlyn changes, which she no longer gets headshot stacks off Runans. So I think her build path may change, which could change her overall damage. We're just gonna have to see.
Yeah. If it's okay with you guys, I want to move it on to the match previews. So the first match, it's another Friday game. Cloud9 will be playing against Phoenix1, June 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I hate these Friday games.
I actually like the Friday games. It kind of gives you something to look forward to after a long day.
I like
on a
Friday
weekday.
games.
Yeah, you know, you come home from work, you open up a nice cold soda or whatever.
Crack open a cold one with the boys.
Exactly,
and...
crack open a cold one with the boys, and then watch your Cloud9 boys play. Your C9 boys. But it'll be really interesting to watch coming into the second week, since a lot of the top teams have either went like 0-2 or went 1-1. Impact is now back in an A and is probably scrimming with the team and doing like we did before. So hopefully our team cohesion and everything that we had last split kind of starts to come back together. My biggest point to kind of watch out for is maybe Arrow versus Sneaky. Sneaky has kind of had like positioning errors for a while, and he's kind of been the victim of... He's very like CC prone and just gets caught out so many times. So I'm really curious if he'll try to tighten up his play for this bot lane heavy matchup.
If I'm going to be honest, P1 looked bad. I think P1 looked worse than us.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't see the other games.
They
I was busy with
lost.
stuff.
They did okay against Immortals. But they against Envy, I couldn't believe my eyes. I think P1 without Meteos and without Stunt just looks bad.
Wow.
So if we lose to P1, I would be very surprised, especially with the extra preparation we're doing. And then we also play Echo Fox, which I feel confident that we should win, considering Echo Fox's strength of opponents last week. So I believe it should be all right. It's going to definitely be interesting because I think P1 structurally is good, but the changes in roster from last year or last split to this split will affect them.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think another player to watch out for is contracts, because he's kind of been our explosive point to kind of really get the game going, especially in kind of the early stages, because he can play these carries and do really well with. How do you guys think he'll perform? You know, considering meta shifts, maybe moving towards more tanky junglers and everything. Is he gonna get back up on the horse and perform like he always does, or is he gonna kind of continue to struggle as the meta changes and stuff?
I think this past week that contracts kind of took a page out of Medios's book and kind of hard farmed a little bit, which isn't specifically bad, but he still was hitting level 6 kind of late. In 2 games, he actually hit level 6 after 8 minutes, which was kind of worrying because in one game it was almost 2 minutes after Svenskiren hit level 6. But go on, Trey.
What I was going to say is, I think with the help of Reapered, he should be able to help contracts understand where he needs to be on the map, which I think was a big problem in these week's games. Because especially in the first series, Dardoch was creating a lot of plays where contracts was kind of stuck farming. So not only was he getting just about the same amount of camps, but he could not keep up with Dardoch. Which, to be fair, I think it's very hard to keep up with Dardoch, but you gotta do something else on the map. And I think in the first game he did that really well because of the Olaf. But after that, it really kind of stumbled. So I'm going to hope and believe that something has been done about this, because this wasn't really his same problem last split.
Yeah, and I've ripped on contracts a lot, so I do want to give him credit where credit's due. Among junglers, he had a 10 in gold in team gold percentage. He actually had 10% less than the guy in first, Acadian of team gold, 10 percentage points, and he actually had the highest DPM and damage percentage among any junglers. So I do think that he played decently well this weekend, but I do think that there is still ways to go for him to become a top 3 jungler.
Yeah, I do think there was a lot of miscoordination this week from contracts, and I think that is combined with the team I'm going to bring back of lack of practice, which is unacceptable, but that seems what it is, and it could be a different problem, but based on the knowledge we have, I'm going to assume that that is the current problem, and with Impact back, Impact ready, I think we do very well this week.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. I guess moving on to the Echo Fox match. I'm gonna kick this one off to Pie, because he's been a little quiet. We've been kind of dominating the conversation. What do you think about the Echo Fox match this Sunday, June 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
I hope C9 comes back with a vengeance, since they canceled scrims at the last minute. Also, looking at the score and watching that live scrim versus the Meme Dream Team, I'm now wondering even more how the Will Only Scrim Our Sister team will pay off. I think the biggest thing is, as you listed here, Acadian versus Contracts. I think Jensen will be able to hold up pretty well against Froggen, and man, I don't even know what to think about their bot lane anymore, but I think Acadian and Contracts will be the big points. If Acadian can get the ball rolling early, that will be pretty good for them. Echo Fox look like they finally decided to do something, but if Acadian doesn't really start the team snowballing, Cloud9 will hopefully have the advantage because I think once they get their cohesion together, their team fighting is phenomenal.
Yeah, speaking of Acadian, in a recent Blitz Esports interview, he said that probably the toughest jungler to go up against in NA, at least according to him, was Contracts. So it'll be really interesting to see these young blood junglers kind of go after each other and try to make plays for their teams. Yeah, speaking of kind of their other points, their bot lane is really weird. The scrim thing I think is kind of an interesting talking point because I did watch that and I just don't know if that's a really good strategy considering watching the stream teams play. It just seemed really just half effort. They just didn't put a lot of effort, it seemed, and it just in terms of like quality of like, okay, I can either scrim stream team or I can scrim like TSM or C9, and it just seems like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, the thing is, it's also great to note that this great, amazing stream team got O2'd by E United this week.
I saw they played Talia support. I don't know what fresh hell that is, but
I believe Skara.
I don't want to know.
Was Skara playing support or jungler?
Skara is jungler. Shifter
Okay.
got relegated to support.
Yeah, there's definitely needs to be some changes in their games, but I just don't understand. Like, I agree that the stream team is cool and all, but it just Echo Fox, it confuses
to
me.
put in perspective, they only got 2 kills in the first game. Also, E United has GBM and Dandy, and I think that's gonna light a fire under GBM's ass, and he won't play as terrible as he did on NRG. So maybe
He's terrible.
Maybe we'll see the GBM that was once considered like a top 3 mid in the world.
Wait, when did they get
They
GBM?
got- oh no,
When
this
did this
happened
happen?
a few months back.
I don't know, but he's terrible still.
Or like
What?
a month or so.
And
Where was
Licorice.
I when this happened?
Yeah,
They
they've
also
had
have
Licorice
Licorice
since
and
April.
Zazel. Yeah. Okay. So,
And the fact is, Dandy is a fucking legend. I need people to know, Dandy in this meta is going to explode. So I expect United to probably win or get second in the Challenger Series.
But can they beat Team Liquid in the
No.
relegation tournament?
No, because Liquid will like buy double lift back or something for.
okay.
But that's another thing.
finish your point, and then I'm gonna go.
that's pretty much my whole point. I wanted to say something about Liquid, but I can say it after.
No, go now because I'm gonna jump into something semi on topic but semi off.
Okay, well, Liquid, I understand this is a message to Liquid. I get that you want to fix your problem. Subbing out Golden Glue is not the solution.
No, it's not.
Your team is playing like fucking garbage.
Ass. They're terrible in general. It's they could put Faker in there, and honestly, they would still be bad. I feel like.
You have to get better coordination between Piglet and Matt, Rainover and Lorlo, and Golden Glue needs to have more information on when he needs to roam because they look so out of place when they're playing. And I know this team has been doing so well in scrims, and it makes me so mad that after one series, you're willing to sub out this person that you sent to Korea to improve their play and learn more aggressive play style, and then after one series, you sub him out. It's unbelievable and unacceptable. That's it. I'm done with my rant.
I agree with a lot of that. LS did a thing about it, and he basically just said that Team Liquid was shit, and that it's not Golden Glue's fault, and that a lot of the problems actually had nothing to do with Golden Glue. though he was a little bit biased about it, but I think the point still stands. But yeah,
Agreed.
while we have a minute, we were talking about Echo Fox, their stream team, and their only scrimming in-house. So we kind of had a conversation, I think last week, a brief one. Maybe it was in Discord, I'm not sure. But I wanted to do it now while we have like five minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Echo Fox scrimming in-house is going to be the way that the LCS teams primarily do it within 2 or 3 years. Just because I think that there's a lot to learn from playing against a team that you can control and kind of mold to play how you want them to play. And I think that this is kind of the first iteration of a team trying to do that. In the end,
maybe in NA, but I want to remind you real quick, Samsung White and Samsung Blue many times only executively scrimmed each other and kept strategies from other teams. So it's not like this is the first time that's been done in League's history.
no, it's not. And Thorin did a talk about it a little bit too. But I think that a lot of the criticism of it was that they're not getting like ideal practice and such. But I think that it's even more ideal now, just because they have 5 players that they can set up to play however they want. They're not going against another team that's going to be playing with their own goals in mind. They can perfectly set up 5 players in chat and be like, hey, we want to work on our Barons. We'll restart this game on command, and then we'll just keep going on Barons all day until we feel like we know them. And maybe it's not perfect practice laning against a great opponent, but I think that there's a lot of that can be done in solo queue. Maybe not so much greatness, but I think that it's not going to be something super optimal that you can recreate in scrims either. And I think a good example of this in another sport is in the NFL, where they have like a specific practice squad of like lower tier players that they practice against each week, solely because they can have them play a specific way, and they can set them up to play exactly what they're going to be playing this next coming week. So does anybody want to rebuttal in any of that?
Yeah, so one of the big points, the NFL, I think that's not the best comparison, because with the scrims, you can kind of set up a scrim, do it whenever you want. With the NFL, are you gonna fly your whole team? Are the Falcons gonna fly like all the way to New York to play the Giants so that they can learn Eli Manning's secrets to beating the Patriots? Probably not. It's just too hard to make it work. You also have so many more people playing football that even your like second tier list of players is going to be pretty good, where the tiers between pro and challenger players, there's so much more of a knowledge difference. As far as your points go, I do agree, yeah, you can set up your own situations, but why would you want to exclusively scrim a team where, okay, maybe you want to practice something one day, well, now you have the sister team that you can do it. Oh, but hey, let's get practice against, the best teams in the league. Oh, we're not going to be able to do that because we only want to practice against the team that just went 0-2 against the challenger team. Great, that's wonderful. I think there are definitely merits to these sister teams. We looked at the old Korean sister team that Trey pointed out. You got, Samsung, KT, SKT, they all had these sister teams, and they were all great teams, and it's kind of a shame that they disbanded. But, your specific example of Samsung White versus Samsung Blue, the team that won Worlds versus the team who was doing, dominating OGN, Delta Fox, Echo Fox is not on the same level as them. I think that, yes, having a sister team's really good. It's great to have them and scrim against them because you get to test out what you want to test out and not leak things. But, man, if Cloud9 was going to be scrimming with, like, TSM, like, and I think Weldon pointed out in AML, if, like, TSM, C9, G2, Unicorns, H2K, Flash Wolves, like, all of them could scrim against each other, all of them would be such better teams because they're learning against great players rather than trying to figure out stuff on their own and just test it.
Yeah, I definitely agree to that, and I also want to hop in and say a big difference between these sister teams and like the sister teams of old is that the sister teams of old were still in the same league. They were friendly rivalries, pretty much, where in the end they still had to play each other in game, so they had more influence to try and say, okay, well, we both had to play at our very best. Where I think with what's going to happen with Challenger Series and sister teams is that the sister teams are going to lose a lot of interest. Because no matter what, you aren't going to get moved up to LCS from Challenger Series. Unless that's something in your org's position to do. So it just seems not as great, personally. But maybe I'm wrong.
The one argument that I do think is a good argument is that it's easier to figure out the meta if you're scrimming against other teams and their ideas of what picks should be picked and such. But I don't think that anything can beat a lot of the micro macro plays that you can practice with just your own team at hand. Echo Fox has a whole bench of players along with Delta Fox that they can work with in scrim. So I think having a team at your disposal, you can set the parameters to be however you want. Say you're up 5k gold at 40 minutes and you see one team going to Baron, you can maneuver each person exactly where you want them to be to find counter plays and stuff like that. Doesn't happen inside a scrim. All it can come is from VOD reviews, and I think that being able to replicate different scenarios in-house and in finding counter plays to the other team's attempts at counter plays is completely more beneficial in a late game scenario or when there are a super large amount of possibilities. And I think that scrimming in-house and spending more time focusing more on map movement and such is more important than working on micromanagement in lane. And I think that a lot of that can be learned in scrims. Maybe they do more in-house practice and then like scrim a couple times a week, but having I think having the giant scrim blocks is kind of not as efficient practice time as it could be either.
I don't know. I don't think League is a game where you can prepare for specific situations. It's so fluid. There's two scenarios will rarely ever be exactly the same. I think the biggest thing that you can prepare for is like lane matchups or something like that, but we are also kind of low on time.
You can do lane matchups in solo queue though, like
But you can't get specific lane matchups in solo queue that you want. You aren't always going to have these situations.
not all the time, but a lot of lane matchups have been played by each player 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 times. So like these lane matchups aren't something that they haven't seen before. But if they're in-house, they can play this lane matchup and they can move a jungler around the map at their own will to try and simulate different scenarios. And I think that true that there are an unlimited amount of scenarios, but the only way start tackling them is if you start working in them a little bit, and I think that that's more important than scrimming, where you can't replicate certain things as well. But yeah,
All right.
yeah, we're out of time. If anyone else
Yeah.
has anything to add, they can. I'm done.
I'm out.
We'll continue this
Okay.
next week on the next exciting episode of We'll Argue for 10 Minutes.
Of I argue in one way, and
We yell at each other for an
completely
hour. The podcast.
intro other
I'd still listen to
esports
it.
train Josh yell for 22 minutes at each other, pie talks. Okay, yeah, so predictions. We'll just go down the line from Havoc Puss.
Yes. You know what? I'm optimistic. I'm gonna say 2-1 against Phoenix1 and 2-0 against Echo Fox.
Trey?
Trey.
I'm gonna say probably. I think 2-1 against Echo Fox and 2-0 against P1.
Tony Montana, aka PieMagicMan.
AKA G2 Perks Hater.
Yeah, I'm gonna just agree with everyone else. That seems like the easiest thing to do at this point. Everyone except for Frozen about sister teams.
Hey, they have a whole in-house team also along with Delta Fox, and I think that scrim was kind of a publicity stunt in ways. But okay, yeah, our predictions. I think if we're gonna drop in a game this week, it's gonna be to Echo Fox. I really like early split Echo Fox, and I think that they've came in with a lot of fire this split so far. I know all you guys slept on them, so
To be fair, look at who they've played.
that is true. I'm gonna go 2-0 against Phoenix1. Give them the old 5-0 over our last 5 games. And I hate to not pick us to win, so I'm gonna go 2-1 against Echo Fox, which is what you guys picked. So I guess I'm not special.
Yay, one of us. One of us. One of
One
us.
of us.
Alright, does anyone have any quick moments of the week? We're kind of running over on time, so.
Trey and Pie do, I'm
ESL
sure.
Pro League Finals. Laughing at the fact that North was hated so much at the venue that we sang goodbye. That just made my whole week.
Anyone else?
I don't really have anything, to be
I don't
honest.
think they charged me for the nachos at the stadium, so that was pretty cool. So I got free nachos.
Hells yeah.
Sick. Free nachos. That's great. Frozen, do you have anything?
No, I was just going to say, if you're listening to this, we stream the podcast live, pretty much every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's posted on our Twitter. I know we have Andres with us this time, who is excited about those free nachos, so come on in. We tweet out the link. It's either Trey or I normally who streams it.
Yeah, definitely. Come on into the chat. Get your kappas, get your pog champs ready. I know Twitch chat emotes sometimes, but yeah, come in and listen to us. If we don't run over and if we don't go long, we'll totally interact with the chat and answer some questions. We can't do it tonight, sadly, because
My bad.
as I said, time is a factor. But
It's bedtime.
next time, we'll definitely try to work
So you
it
better hope for a victory, so we have less to talk about.
It's so true.
All right, and I want to give another shout out to Andres, who just called himself a fucking model fan, and I think he is. So thank you for coming.
Indeed, he has been so active with us on Twitter.
All right, I think we fed his ego enough, so let's get out of here.
All right, let's play ourselves out. So thank you everyone for listening to the 39th episode of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. Feel free to tweet questions and feedback to @C9Bodied or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. Questions might be answered on the next podcast, so get them in. We will totally listen to you and acknowledge your existence. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. So say goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.